Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're going to be playing Her Story on Steam. Sit back, relax, let's have a good time. Happy Halloween to everybody out there. So I don't know about Her Story, but apparently it's a visual novel. This is sponsored gameplay, so shout out to the publishers and developers for allowing me to cover this game. Let's get right into it. Type your name. The name you choose will be displayed in the dialogue. If you choose no name, your name will be displayed as Sang-Jun. Huh. Let's do Sam. That's my name. Oh, it's got an achievement. Your name Sam? Yes. Yes, it is. Yes. Someone collided with me in the middle of the crosswalk. Oh no. It was a summer day. Wait. Slow down. I was gonna read it. Alright, let's change that. Don't go on or you go way faster than I can read. My gosh. Can we go back? Let's go back. Exit. No, don't exit we gotta exit title screen. Yeah, okay, let's try again. New game. Type your name here. Yeah, that's fine. I'll be Sam. No, Sam. My name is Sam. Okay. Is your name Sam? Yes. Yes, it is. Someone collided with me in the middle of the crosswalk. It was a summer day when you could see the heat coming up in waves. There was clearly no one on the road. Only the sound of cicadas broke the silence. A bunch of water had formed a small puddle on the ground in front of me. On a day as hot as today, how was there a puddle of rain here? Act! Watch where you're going, dumb! Ah! I finished glaring over toward... Girl. Ah! A girl I'd never seen was standing there. It hadn't rained, but that didn't stop her from wearing a red raincoat. She was looking at me with a blank look on her face, arms outstretched. A girl I didn't know, she just shoved me. I peered at her drenched figure. I couldn't make sense of the situation, so I forgot to get angry, and at that moment... The crosswalk signal was clearly still green, but a car with windows tinted dark as night sped past. The car was just as black as the tint on its windows. Ah! The large hunk of metal passes close enough to brush against me, almost sent me rolling across the asphalt once more. It didn't even look like the driver had thought about stepping on the brakes. Did they not even care if they ran us down? If I hadn't fallen after being hit the first time and kept on crossing, who knew what might have happened to me? Then again, if I'd hit the ground a bit harder, I may have been crushed under the car. No matter how you looked at it, the driver of that car was clearly not in their right mind, and this girl, she was trying to save me. Hey! I jumped up and approached the girl. She looked up at me. You? Were you hurt? Are you okay? I thought about it for a bit, but her eyes were just so empty. To the point where it was hard to figure out if she was in the wrong or not.
Cookie.
It's just... Her eyes went down to my arm. She started trembling like she was frightened. I must have skinned it because it was bleeding. Then the pain set in. I'm fine. Wasn't your fault. What were you doing there? The girl slowly stretched her hand out towards my wound. The whole movement looked rather odd. Huh? What are you doing? Were you hurt too? The moment I saw the bandage through the girl's raincoat. Rain poured down on my head. It was as if the skies had opened up. What? I closed my eyes and opened them again, only to find there was nothing there. Everything I just saw came as a shock, so I had another look around. Where had she gone? The rain had stopped. The puddle was gone. There wasn't a single drop of water anywhere on my body. Was the intense heat causing me to hallucinate? Ah, what of it? The sunlight beat down on me. Only the sound of the cicadas echoed along the empty street. Standing there like a dummy was only going to make me late. The clothes I thought had gotten wet in that phantom puddle were dry. The only thing that had changed was the scrape on my arm. After a quick glance to check that I was alone, I tried to compose myself and just act normal. Then I crossed the street the rest of the way, as if nothing at all had happened. A normal day. An ordinary summer day when nothing out of the ordinary had happened. Straight from my childhood. It was no young first love. It was no memory of horsing around with friends. No memory of a terrible report card or test results. It was just a strange event not worth remembering. At least that was how I tried to rationalize the whole thing. And now, after so much time has passed, because I had forgotten such a trivial event, it was like a kitchen knife being plunged into my side. Or is that being too dramatic? Her world. Alright, episode 1, the moment I turned to run, that world would call for me. These memory shards to see what's happening. The woman I met in the empty world. Okay. Quest. Explore new areas and collect memory shards. Okay, that's cool. Alright, proceed with the story! Proceed the selected episode. Yes. This was bound to happen one day. I knew things would end up like this. Despite how much I had prepared my mind for this, it was a wall of pain. As soon as it was over, I left in a hurry. I ran some more. I rode the subway to some station I'd never been to before and got off. I was running like a crazy person without a destination in mind. After wandering for hours like that, I happened upon the neighborhood I'd spent my childhood years in. I looked up. A large university-run hospital caught my eye. I could remember cutting through the inside of the building to get to school quickly, though the place looked to have been renovated since then. Out of habit, I pulled out my phone to check what was going on. I had all sorts of messages and missed calls. I blocked every one of them. How in the world have I held out this long? Is it my brawn, not my brains, pulling me through? I put away my phone, figuring I'd completely lost my mind, and headed for the hospital. I figured I wouldn't meet anyone I knew in that direction. Automatic doors swooshing open, crowds of people waiting for or receiving treatment. Bells signaling the arrival of noon resonated throughout the hospital. The chorus of sounds seemed to camouflage my arrival. After meandering about the place for a while, I saw an old elevator. Good, there was my ticket. All I wanted was to be in a closed-off space. I stepped onto the elevator. The button for the 4th floor seemed larger than the others. Not a bad option for the time being. I jabbed the floor. Sigh. A sigh of relief slipped through my lips. Any way I looked at it, I must have lost my mind back there. The fact that the elevator seemed much too old for this sterile hospital environment, and the fact that hospitals usually skip the fourth floor, label it as an F due to the superstition. Neither thought occurred to me. The elevator door opened. I took a single step before noticing how strangely muggy it was. And before my eyes, there was no one. Just another wing of the hospital. Only the sound of my footsteps echoed through the silent hallway. The usual hospital announcements. The crowds of people having their conversation. There was none of that on this floor. A woman with long hair standing a ways down the hall looked at me for a moment. But then she walked quickly around a corner and disappeared. I was the only one here. That was a good thing, though. The sunlight streaming through the far window was strangely hazy. I grabbed at a handle to one of the doors and turned it with a loud creak. I had no idea why I did it. But the sound was actually quite pleasant. It was suddenly so dark that I thought the sun might have gone down already. The windows in the hospital rooms I passed were all cracked and broken. Even the overhead lights kept flickering on and off every once in a while. It was a filth unsuited to a hospital. The walls were cracked. Half of a wheelchair was lying, battered on the floor. I kicked a chunk of concrete, sending it skittering. Again, so satisfying. When you can't escape reality, everything... Huh? Finally, after walking farther down the hall than I wanted to admit, I realized how off everything was. What is this place? Where am I? Is this really the same hospital? Hello? No answer. Is anyone there? Only my voice echoed off the walls of the silent hall. The echoes that returned were only me. Since I couldn't quite get a grasp on what was going on, my hand reached for a blind covering one of the windows. The blinds seemed ancient. They crashed to the floor. The metal frame clanged against the floor as it rolled, causing quite the racket. However, what the... One good thing from all of that, I wouldn't be sued for vandalism. The hospital building falling apart from decay. The cold mist hanging over the place. The cars with so much rust that it seemed they'd been in the elements for hundreds of years. Beyond where the blinds once hung, the world was in tatters. Whoa! After a few deep breaths, I looked out of the window once more. However, the sunshine beating down on the hospital walls didn't return. The buildings were crumbling. The cars were rusting hunks of metal. Not a single one of the people normally scurrying about was anywhere to be seen. Opening the window didn't change the scenery. The mist caressed my cheek. The anxiety got the best of me, and I pulled out my phone to check my messaging app. Then I realized that I'd block all of the numbers and didn't have to answer the messages every 5 seconds, eliciting a sigh of relief. With a single click, I snapped a picture of the strangely magnificent collapsed remains of the buildings. Anyone there? Hello? Again, no one but the echo of my own voice. Even if I were screaming in a panic, there was no one there to pay me any heed. I tried my hardest to wrap my head around the situation I'd find myself in, but no satisfactory conclusion came. I gave the old blinds that had fallen off a desperate examination, as if I could find evidence as to what was happening there. Unfortunately, though, the worn tatters that remained also looked to be a few hundred years old, adding another layer to my confusion. Sigh. What's going on? The confusion made way for a bout of rage, and I collapsed to the floor. I carefully grabbed the rusty door handle and made my way back to the hallway I'd come from, the elevator. I could go back using the elevator. Hi, Ariel! Welcome to the stream! How you doing? Happy Halloween! Can you hear me okay? Hopefully. I felt certain that writing that would straighten everything out, with no basis for thinking that or reason. The judgment of a college student witnessing the end of the world only extended so far. Thunk, thunk. The only sound in that empty hallway was that of my heavy steps. Happy Halloween, Ariel! I'm so happy you're here. I missed you. Every footfall left a print of my shoe in the layer of dust. The cracked walls made the place smell of old concrete. I saw traces of something that had passed through there. Whatever it wasn't human. Suddenly, I realized just how far I'd walked compared to my first time through here. Had I passed the elevator? I saw a door that had fallen off its hinges. In front of it, an open doorway that was probably where it had been hanging. The plate to the side, marking some sort of clinic, had been half worn away. I'm at work, so I thought I'd watch. Awesome! Slowly, I moved to peer inside the room. It was dark, but I could just make out a light switch within reach. Then, it's really hot in this mask. I'm sweating so bad. I'm burning so much weight. Ugh! Or maybe I'm spitting on myself. I don't know. The room was filled with letters traced in dark red. The dim light blinked as though it were about to go out at any second. There were so many letters in that discolored red hue, patterns, drawings, graffiti. Judging by the amount of writing covering the floor and walls, it seemed as though someone had been trapped in here for a long time. The words seemed to blend together into some sort of being that stared at me. I could take it off? Halloween. Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Halloween, Halloween. And at the door on the other side of the room, something knocked like it wanted to break through that very second. Like it was asking me to open the door. This one will be better, right? This one's pretty good. I have a third one that's like metal. It's cool. It's cool. The sound scared me so bad that I jumped back. My foot landed on a piece of glass. It looked to be one of the pieces of the emergency exit sign that now littered the area. The tinkle of the broken glass helped my brain, lost in panic for a moment there, to gain some semblance of sanity back. Everything was quiet behind the door once more. This place. Where am I? The question flashed in my mind before I turned my thoughts elsewhere. This isn't the collapse of my world I'm witnessing. This isn't something that just happened. My nose itches! Maybe I was transported to this place when I stepped off the elevator. Where am I? What is this place? Horror movies about secret rooms in hospitals and the biological experience that took place in them came to mind. It really seemed like that could be the case here. But then, why was the outside world in ruins? I felt a cold sweat trickle down the back of my neck. I turned away from the room full of writing back towards the hallway once more. The moment I did, there was a thunk that something appeared in front of me. Finally, another being was here to greet me. Here in this world, I couldn't make heads or tails out of it. In that moment, I felt so glad and relieved. Unfortunately for me, the thing that had fallen in front of me was beyond my realm of understanding. It was black, maybe a clump of oil? This oblong, congealed lump of something sucking the constant flow of liquid back into itself was standing there in front of me. It had stick-looking body, multiple legs sticking out of the sleek torso, no more like the conglomeration of thick tentacles. The slow way it oozed about made me think of the slime children played with. Right? It's super creepy! And what on earth was the giant shadow following along behind it? And then... One hand was barely able to make it up to my mouth. Before the scream came out, it was like encountering a savage beast high up in the mountains. The feeling that everything would end if that scream leaked out dominated any other thought. The object was slowly sliding toward me. Without realizing what I was doing, I instinctively raised my hands in front of my eyes and stepped back as slowly as I could, so I didn't provoke the thing. Where was it? I heard that you were supposed to avoid eye contact and slowly step backward, but the thing didn't have any eyes. So, why is this happening to me? Is this something I did? Is it because I ran? Is this guilt giving me a nightmare? If this is a dream, please let me wake up. As I took a few frantic steps backwards, my hand latched onto something. A metal pipe probably had once been part of a medical device or hospital bed. It was quite rusty, but it was thick and had some heft to it. In the middle of all the panic and fear, in the midst of this surreal nightmare, the cool metal in my hand brought a completely different feeling to mind. Yep, I'm not normally like this. This isn't how I want to live my life. I got a firm grip on the heavy metal pipe, took a step towards the tentacles coming off the thing, and... Huh? I couldn't take a swing! Something soft and squishy was behind me, preventing me from moving. Before I could scream, it had something over my mouth and around my limbs. It threw me to the floor like a beast would its prey. There was another one, another behind me! Damn you son of a... The thing in front of me was also slithering quickly in my direction. I could still move my right arm. I tried a desperate swing with the pipe in that direction. The rusty pipe cracked in half, just like the blinds a while back. Ugh, ugh! I can't breathe, I can't move, how am I supposed to fight against these things? Do they even have joints I can target? The cold sensation engulfed my body was entirely unpleasant. It felt like sinking into a puddle of mud. The weird creatures, they were constantly chanting something I couldn't recognize. I couldn't tell if it was closer to a human language or an animal grunt. but it was ringing in my ears without end. Just as the horror of the situation is about to drive me insane, I heard the sound of footsteps coming down the hall. Someone was nearby! In that moment, I pushed the fear out of my mind and used all my strength to rip away the tentacles covering my face. I heard a snap that made it sound like I was breaking someone's arm. After gasping for death through my newly liberated mouth, I shouted, "Stay back, it's dangerous!" It's dangerous, this place, it's too dangerous for you to come alone. Get help! Preventing others from getting hurt was priority number one. I had no idea whose footsteps those were, but I couldn't let whoever it was get close. I twisted as hard as I could, sending me and the creature rolling to the floor. I tensed up, meaning to crush the creature, and grabbed hold of it. It was as slick as oil and mushy as squid, and as cold as ice. However, it was giving off the smell of the human body. There was also the muttering of something resembling language, something that I couldn't understand. I felt deep that just listening to it put me in danger. Please hold out muscles, at least until the other person can escape, but then the sound of the footsteps didn't stop. They were clearly coming this way. I said, "Stay back! You're in danger!" Do you not understand what I'm saying? These things will attack, so stay away! I've got a hold of it! However, the owner of the footsteps ignored my polite suggestion, coming right up behind me. I forced my body to turn so I could shoot the person a glare. As I desperately craned my neck around looking for the girl, for a look, the girl I'd seen earlier came into my line of sight. Her black hair gently fluttering about her, the muted blouse and long skirt seemed normal at first glance, but where a belt should be, it looked like a coat string. Against the white of her pale skin, the outfit looked dark enough to be something you might wear to a funeral. This girl had an odd air about her, like someone you might turn for a second glance at after passing on the street. However, the reason you wouldn't actually turn back, those eyes looking down at me, they were as cold as she was staring straight at her sworn nemesis. The woman drew close, no hint of hesitation in her steps. Then she proceeded to mercilessly trample the creatures that had me wrapped in their clutches. As she did, my beaten brain was ripped back to reality. That hurts! Those shoes may look like whaling shoes, but they've got a heel on them! With that expressionless face of hers, she pulled out something that had been hidden behind her locks of hair. A knife with a blue blade. The end of that blade is so clearly aimed right at me. Ah, I see. I'm a dead man! I couldn't say what I'd done wrong. I had no idea what had gone on in this world. I didn't know what those creatures were. I had no idea what kind of person this girl was. However, the look on her face as she wielded that blade said it all. The knife was for me. I was going to die! In the midst of all these experiences that felt unreal, that was the only thing standing as fact. For some reason, my mind went back to the time I was pushed while crossing the road. Such a meaningless memory, I could barely remember the details. That was 5 years ago. Why am I remembering that now? The tentacle that was covering my mouth slipped down a bit. I looked up at the girl staring down at me and spoke. Sorry. The moment I mumbled those words out of sheer habit, he could totally run. That is true, Ariel. Like, he could totally be running because he's having a full-blown conversation with himself, just standing there. The blade descended! Again, it sank deep. Black fluid sprayed in all directions. The black creature was thick enough to block the blade from reaching my body, but the knife swung in wide arches, slicing off chunks of that thing. With my arms and legs still tied up on the left side of my chest, I felt the touch of the cold steel. I could feel the sharp end of the blade through my clothes. Then, as the pressure grew to where I thought it would sink in at any moment, the descent of the blade slowly halted. That tapered end of the blade shook, as if it was resisting something, as if there was some conflict that couldn't be resolved. In those few seconds that felt like an eternity, the woman slowly closed her eyes. She wrapped her other hand around the trembling edge of the blade and slowly pulled it away from my chest. Grab hold. Then she stuck the hand out to me. The mutilated black body had released me from its grasp without me realizing what had happened. I grabbed her hand and stood up. Thank you. Can you run? Excuse me? The woman pointed off down the hall. To the place I've been before, to the room with the red letters. From that direction, the giant tentacle thing was coming right for me. I need to change masks!
Sweaty. He should know he can't run. He is totally worthless, right?
From that direction, the giant tentacle thing was coming right for me. Run before you get tangled up in that. What in the world is? I said run! Going now! My panic-stricken mind finally found where it needed to go. I started running, led by this knife-wielding woman. Right before we left the dilapidated hallway, my head turned for one last look back. The giant tentacle shadow was sucking up the scattered black fluid. What? What is this? Memory shards. No. Go with the story. Thump. In that abandoned hospital hall, the only sound was the echoing steps of our feet. The one set heavy, one set light. This woman, who said her name was Hyora, spun her knife a few times. I saw a bit of black liquid fly off as she spoke.
그러니까
So did you really think I was
거라고
going to stab
생각했다는
you?
거야?
Yup! She wiped the blade off on my shirt.
쟤들이 아니라?
Not those things. Nope!
대체 왜?
Why would you think that? Well, it's just... I wanted to say because you were staring at me, but I swallowed the words. I was sure she was staring me down. Not those other things. I stared at Hyun, who was busy using my shirt to make sure her knife was spotless. The sweet, fruity scent of her smooth, straight hair tickled my nose. I've never smelled a shampoo like that. Now that I can see up close, her hair sure is long. I'm sorry if you take this the wrong way, but... Yeah? Are you a person?
무슨 뜻으로 하는 말이야?
What's that supposed to mean? Yon spun around and glared at me. Her hair whipped around her as she did. The actions straight out of a shampoo commercial left me with a chill, but I decided to calmly explain what I meant. It's just, you're not a ghost, are you? Yon got really quiet. Her look just a few minutes before. The motionless expression as she hacked away at that thing came to mind. It reminded me of the rancher at the farmer's market who asked if I'd ever heard the grunts of a dying pig when its throat was cut. Most people would turn and run in such a situation. Yon lowered her head, and without moving her upper body at all, she slowly approached. Who did she remind me of? There was that celebrity who was always floating around like that. It was like she was riding down a moving walkway, floating like a phantom. A cold sweat started up once more. Then, hee. Okay, she's creepy. Boo! Ah! As I fell backward and lifted both hands to shield myself from Hyun, she stood up on her tiptoes and lifted her arms as well. She looked as if she wanted to eat. Mouth agape! The whites of her teeth almost lined up with my neck. Come to think of it, she was quite short, huh? Actually, considering my own height, it was hard to call her short. Yon froze up for a minute, looking a bit embarrassed.
어떻게 구해준 사람을
How
귀신
could you
취급하니?
think the person who saved you was a ghost? She stepped back and spun around in place. Her hair grazed my face. So, you are a person, right?
응.
Yep. Woo. You seem to be human. That was a relief. Right. If she was really human, there was nothing to fear.
손까지 잡고서 따라와 놓고
You literally
귀신인지
held me
의심해?
onto my hand as I pulled you along. How could you think I was a ghost? Sorry!
대학생이지?
You're a college
몇
student.
학년?
You're a college kid, huh? What year? 1 of 4.
어린 것이 버릇이 없구나.
From your lack of manners, I assume you're young. Young?
응.
You heard me. You're talking about me?
그럼 너 말고 누가 있어?
Who else would I be talking to? Yon raised her chin up to peer down her nose at me. Nobody had told me I looked young since middle school. I mean, how old are you to be talking down to me like that? What was that? Yon smiled and squinted at me.
몇 살로 보이는데?
How old do I look? Well, you look pretty close to me, maybe a little younger. Actually, you might be my age,
어딜
no?
보고 그렇게 생각한 건데?
What did you see that clued you in? It's totally a trap, Ariel! Women are nothing but sirens! Yon puffed her chest out and pressed against me. Her pale face was directly under mine. I couldn't help but notice those long eyebrows of hers.
너희 나이대
Do other
애들이
kids your age look
나처럼
like me?
생겼니?
No, but...
동기 중에
Have you
나
met a
정도
girl in
되는
your
애가
class that
있어?
measures up? What do you mean?
얼굴이랑 몸
Face-wise, body-wise.
똑바로 보고 말해봐.
Take a look before you weigh in. John's smile exuded confidence. I'm sorry, but you shouldn't go around bragging about how pretty you are.
좀 예뻐?
Just a little pretty then?
좀?
Just a little? I mean, you are very pretty.
그래, 그래야지.
Good, that's what I thought. Sorry, I'm just not normally one to judge.
그치?
Not as much. Yon let out a content giggle. You couldn't say no to a pretty face like that. So,
어때?
how are you?
이젠 좀
Feeling a little better?
괜찮아?
What?
아까 손이
Your
떨리고
hands were
있었잖아.
shaking before.
허세 부리고
I
있어도
knew you were trying to act
많이
tough, but,
놀랐지?
but all this must have come as quite the shock. Ah, at some point I had forgotten that I almost died back there. Yon was also casually exchanging jokes with me now. Was all that just to get me to relax? Was the age talk just a diversion to stir me away from how heavy things had gotten? How long had it been since someone had been so kind to me? Yon grabbed me by the hand. Her hand was cold, but her soft fingers enveloping mine put my mind at ease.
이젠 괜찮아.
You're okay now, right?
내가 있으니까.
Because I'm here. Just wanted to say thanks again for all that.
이제야 말을 잘 듣네.
Finally listening now. I gave her a little bow in thanks, and she patted me on the head. Couldn't be letting my guard down, though. It may have looked like she saved me, but I couldn't rule out that she really meant to stab me. I had no idea how things stood between us. With my guard back up to its proper level, I cautiously asked Yon a question as she led the way. So, what were those things back there? Where exactly is this place? I've been wandering through.
어디?
Where? Where? Yeah, where? Yon turned back my way with a slight grin on her face. You're pretty bright, aren't
빠른데?
you? That was a strange response.
대개는
They
무슨 사고가
usually
터진
ask
거냐고
what sort
물어보거든.
of accident caused all this.
자기가 옮겨진
They usually
거라고는
don't realize that
생각보다 잘
they've
눈치채지
been moved.
못해. 미사일이라도 떨어진 줄
They normally
알더라니까.
chalk it up to a missile or something. So it wasn't that.
그랬으면
You think that would
이 정도로
would
끝났겠어?
cause all this? Yon brought her hands together, then they rocketed them apart. In an exploding gesture. Her playfulness stood at odds with the energy of this place.
뭐 일단
For now,
따라와.
just follow me.
돌아가게 해줄 테니까.
I'll get back to you. I mean, I'd rather have an explanation. Yon slunk right back in front of me and jabbed her finger at my lips to cut me off. What was she saying, though? I had a right to. None of it really matters then. My body was asking me to back away, but I stood there. I gazed into Yeon's eyes as she rested her finger on my lips.
넌 돌아가고 싶다고 했.
You said you wanted to go back.
일단 나가고
Once you
나면
leave, you won't
여기로도
return.
그런 네가
Then you have no need to
이것에 대해 알
learn
필요가
anything about this
있을까?
place, right? How about you use that energy for your studies, her big Miles said. But I'm wrapped up in all this.
당사자면 스스로 생각해
If you're
보든가.
involved, figure it out for yourself. That's not very nice.
생명의 은인한테
What makes you
왜
think you can
친절까지
ask the
바라니?
person who saved your life to be kind?
생명의
Saved your
은인한.
life, didn't I?
응?
It sort of felt like she was boasting. She did save me, though, which sort of gave her the right. But still, she probably knew everything that was going on, so why not tell me? You saved me, so shouldn't you take some responsibility here? I wasn't going to just let this slide.
책임?
Responsibility! Yeon got right up in my face, her expression hard to read. My face was reflecting in those big, clear eyes of hers. Wow, such big eyes! Was she a celebrity around these parts? Hello!
책임져
You
줄까?
want me to take some responsibility? Oh, you're so cute! Oh, come on! This girl This girl, she had a habit of pushing her face right up to mine when she felt like she was at a disadvantage. Was it her confidence? I couldn't deny that she had her fair share.
그래. 좋은
Alright,
표현을 바꿔서
I'll
말해줄게.
phrase it a bit different.
알면 못 돌아갈 수도
If I
있어.
tell you, you might not be able to go back. In a completely new, terrifying voice, he undropped that bomb on me. Alright, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh. I hope you guys enjoyed this gameplay. It was a really well done written story. I only found a few grammatical errors, but that is not a big deal. The story is what really matters. This is one of the better visual novels. I really enjoyed it. I'm interested in the story, but I'm going to kind of leave you hanging here so you guys can go out and buy the game yourself. If you guys are on the stream, stay tuned. We got more in store. Thank you again to the publishers and developers for sending me this and allowing me to cover it and sponsoring this gameplay. And if you guys are new to my content, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like button, comment on me live. See ya.